so much of our computer networks and critical infrastructure are in the private sector, which means government cannot do this alone. But the fact is that the private sector can't do it alone either, because it's government that often has the latest information on new threats. There's only one way to defend America from these cyber threats, and that is through government and industry working together, sharing appropriate information as true partners.
Oh, cybersecurity. President Obama went all the way to Silicon Valley to talk out of both sides of his mouth. He said he's a strong supporter of strong encryption, but wait for it, he's also sympathetic to law enforcement's desire to access our data. Yeah, the very man that didn't have a strategy to deal with ISIS is now very concerned about terrorist apprehension if Apple and Google beef up devices' encryption capabilities. Talk about accessing data. I'm still wondering where Lois Lerner's emails disappeared to, but maybe that's just me. Joining me now to give us the dirt on encryption and cyber tech is returning On-Point contributor and cybersecurity expert Scott Schober. Great to see you, Scott.
Thanks for having me on there, Tomi.
All right, Scott, what's the deal? Would encryption technology really harm our national security?
Well, it's certainly very controversial, but if you think about it, it doesn't exactly make sense. Encryption is there to protect consumers. We don't want to get hacked. We don't want the government spying on us. That's ridiculous. It will make it harder for the government, though. It's going to make it harder for them to really monitor people, whether they're good guys or bad guys. But they got their work cut out, so they just got to work harder there. It's really a cybersecurity tool to have encryption in place. It protects all of us and our rights.
Is anything really inaccessible to the government if they want to get it? Because that's what President Obama seemed to be saying, that if we encrypt things, there's no way we can access it. But I don't know if I believe that. You're an expert. Let's hear it.
No, I don't believe it. I mean, encryption is going to make it really hard, but maybe it's analogous if you think back in the late 80s when we had cellular telephones when they first came out. The government could monitor them very easy. When new modulation came about, CDMA, they had to work harder and just up their game, that's all.
Are companies like Apple and Google going to fold to the pressure and back off of encryption technologies because of President Obama's wishes?
I sure hope not. I don't think they will. Look at those two companies. They've got $1 trillion market capitalization. What they do is really going to set a precedent for other companies like them. They're going to all follow suit. So I think it's good that they're actually implementing encryption as just a standard default when you purchase one of their products. It's going to make it more secure, and it's really going to be hard for everybody else not to follow suit.
We hear this term tossed around a lot, and that's metadata. For those that aren't tech savvy like you, Scott, can you explain what it is and why Americans should care about it?
Sure. Metadata or meta tags we also hear about often. If you think of something, maybe something as simple as a JPEG picture, an image, it's data that's associated to that. Maybe it's the color, maybe it's the file size, maybe it's something about the content. Really, the important part about it is it allows search engines and it allows queries to be done to find out information very fast. That's very important for government, for spies, even bad guys, so they could find out information about us quickly. So that metadata is very valuable to them to do search queries.
Scott, I'll tell you something they can't find very quickly, and that's those darn missing emails when that server crashed. I've been meaning to ask you about this for a while now. Now seems like the perfect time. Can you ever really lose these emails, especially at the governmental level with the IRS and all these servers mysteriously crashing at the same time, no backups? How realistic is this?
It's very unrealistic and hard to believe. To me, honestly, there's got to be something incriminating in some of those emails and the files there that miraculously disappeared. So it makes you wonder. I could find things if I lose them. There's backups. You could pull it off hard drives. They said that they just miraculously disappeared and they only keep data so long. Doesn't add up, doesn't make sense at all to me.
I have a feeling if it was a Republican, they'd find those emails pretty quickly. But hey, then again, that's just me. I want to turn to another one of my favorite figures right now that's also having some email trouble, and that's Princess Hillary Clinton. Now, she used her own personal email service when she was at the State Department as our Secretary of State. So my question is, should they be allowed to use their own email services? And with her supposedly releasing them, are we going to get the full picture here?
We're only going to get partial answers on that. They really shouldn't use their personal email. They're not allowed to. Why would they do it? It's because they want to stay off the radar. They want to have some conversations with different individuals. and they want to keep it private, and it's not a part of public record then if they do that. So it's in their best interest to kind of do business that way.
Of course it is. Could we obtain those emails, even if she had that personal account, if the government wanted to, if they really wanted to press this issue, subpoena these emails, could we get the full listing, the full archives?
They could. It would take some work. They'll make probably a lot of excuses and reasons why they can't, but it's certainly attainable. They could get that if they want to. They could even contact the other parties that she was talking to and conversing back and forth and demand that they turn them over. So it's certainly possible to get them. It'll never happen. That we'll never see it probably.
I want to stay on the government theme, get that all out of the way first. I'm curious what you think about the new net neutrality and the FCC having its paws on the internet. Is that good or bad for consumers? I know how I feel.
That's a tough one. It's certainly a political issue. My big concern is anytime the government gets their hands involved in anything, layers of management and control, you do run into a lot of problems. It's the unforeseeable problems that nobody's really talking about. It's going to cost more money. The regulations may cause other problems. The ISPs are getting upset. The carriers are getting upset. The consumers ultimately will get upset. So I think it's going to take a while till this all unfolds and both sides kind of have their say. But to me, more government oversight is a little bit scary there and may cause more problems. There's some protection that they do put in there to protect the consumer so they can't share different things about the consumer and the whereabouts of emails and traffic. That's all positive things. But when you look at the big picture, it's a little more scary to me personally.
I think it is too, and it's really clever how they disguise that as net neutrality. And Scott, unfortunately, we're out of time, but we will have you back again because I want to talk about consumers and cyber dust very soon and a lot of new apps that we have to protect our privacy from the overreaching government. Thank you again for being here as always.